Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Day 7 of KeyShot World 2020. I'm Derek Cicero. Thank you for joining us. In case you missed yesterday, we had 2 sessions on materials with Soren Gemmelmark and Kareem Merchant. They went over cutaway, tune, shader, multilayer optics in the first one. Second one reviewed real cloth, fuzz, and scan materials, and Soren kind of gave us a deep dive on how they kind of use real world materials to inform what goes in the product, and then Kareem jumped into how you actually apply those to your design. So if you missed that, definitely check that out. Today we have one session. We're going to go through KeyShot Advanced, going through model sets, multi-materials, and studios with Ryan. Kareem touched upon the configurator yesterday using multi-materials with real cloth. Ryan's going to touch upon that as well, how you can use model sets and multi-materials to build a configuration either for the KeyShot Viewer, our free KeyShot Viewer, or for the web configurator. So if you haven't checked that before, you should definitely download the KeyShot free viewer and play around with that. It's a great way to get your designs out to people with real-time rendering who don't have KeyShot. There is content today, so if you go to our agenda page, as always, you'll see exclusive content below today's item. You can download that and follow along with Ryan. We'll be coming back tomorrow with 2 sessions on lighting. The first one's going to be kind of end-to-end lighting and what you can do with lighting in KeyShot by Kareem Merchant. That'll be at 10 a.m. The noon session will feature Will Gibbons, and that'll be advanced lighting, so it'll go through customizing lighting setups, doing some lighting animations. So if you're curious about lighting, definitely come back and join us tomorrow. Congrats to Rob A. He won the tools yesterday, courtesy of the wonderful folks at Stanley Black & Decker. So thank you to them. Rob, I hope you enjoy them. Build something cool with that. Maybe have a little free time at home lately. Our render contest winner was Colin Ginn. He did a great job. Did a really cool tennis kind of themed render. We announced the 3 finalists yesterday and then announced the winner. If you don't know already, you go on to, you really can't see it that well because I'm holding a phone, but this is Instagram. And if you go on Instagram and you go on Render Weekly, you can follow our contest. So our first contest ended yesterday with the winner I just mentioned. The new contest started yesterday, and that's going to go for a week through April 6th. The winner of both of them, Colin, won a KeyShot Pro license. We'll give another one out next Monday. The twist on this contest, the first one was the shader ball. This one is you have to use one item from the KeyShot Cloud library. So if you go open in KeyShot, down in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see the little library logo icon. You pick up, click on that. You see the models. Grab any model. Have a 1 model, foreground, background, however you want to do it. You can customize it, but that's the only requirement. And then you just go on your phone. You post it. You tag it with hashtag RW KeyShot World, and then you're entered for the prize. Very simple, very fun. And as always, I've already seen a couple ones that are really cool. You guys always amaze me with the stuff you do. So go out there, have some fun with it. Speaking of wonderful prizes, since we only have one session today, we have a prize at the end of our Q&A today, and that's from the wonderful folks at GoPro who gave us a Hero 8 camera. Thank you, GoPro. We have the best customers, so thank you to them. And so, yeah, join us today. Come back tomorrow. With that, we'll kick it off with KeyShot Advanced Model Sets, Multi-Materials, and Studios with Ryan Levy. Ryan, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Let me just share my screen here. All right. So welcome back, everyone, to another exciting day, another session of Virtual KeyShot World 2020. Today, we're going to be looking at studios, model sets, and multi-materials. My name is Ryan Levy. I am the Global Training and Creative Specialist here at Luxion, makers of KeyShot. You'll see some of my ways you can connect with me, so please reach out. So let's dive right in. So I'm just going to be walking through these 3 features, what they are and how they work, and then eventually we'll dive into KeyShot to showcase that. So multi-materials, number 1, they're a pro feature. So keep that in mind. If you're running HD, definitely reach out to your sales rep or purchase the pro version on our website. Multi-materials allow you to create non-destructive material swapping, variations, and color studies. Multi-material is within a single container material. So as you can see on the right here, you'll see these 4 different colors and different materials that kind of build into one single unit. How to create multi-materials. So there's a few ways to do this. Drag and drop from our library of materials right into this window here. There's also the ability to hold shift and drag and drop into your real-time view, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Add new materials via the list in this window. So you'll see these 3 little icons here. I'll walk through a couple of these and how they work. And convert multiple materials through the project library, and that's in the interface as well. And I'll show you how to do that by selecting a few different materials that you're already using in your scene. Model sets. So it's another pro feature. Model sets allow you to save independent scene tree variations in a single BIP file. So the way I like to think of this is in the past, I would have to save out multiple BIPs if I have, different variations of a product. And this just really makes this such an easy flow to collect all of that data into one KeyShot file. How to create these model sets. So there's a few ways to do this as well. As you can see in this window, you'll see this little icon here. You can click that to create a fresh new model set. Also, you can select the model or part in the scene tree, and you would right-click that and add a new model set. Or import a model into your scene. Through the dialog box, you'll see a setting to add to a new model set or link it up to an existing model set. Studios. This is, again, another pro feature. Studios allow you to combine and save scenes, models, and material variations for quick creation and presentation. So studios can combine cameras, environments, image styles, model sets, or multi-materials. As you can see down here, you can click on or off these settings and add or change any of the assets that you've created. And how to create studios. So you can either click this little button up here, this little icon here. You can add a new studio icon in the top left of the Studios window. Check and uncheck any boxes to include these custom elements, which I just mentioned a moment ago. All right, let's jump into KeyShot. So if you haven't had a chance to download this model that we supplied of this KeyShot Assistant little speaker here, it's really cool. That's okay. If you want to follow along with any of the models in our model library, that's okay too. We've gotten, as Derek mentioned, a few more models up here for the contest coming up. So definitely check these out. Pull any of these in if you'd like to today to work with me alongside. All right, so let's get started. So you'll notice in the project panel, I've organized this tree to separate these different parts here. This is going to help a lot, not only just generally when navigating through your models, but when creating studios and model sets. So keep that in mind. The first thing we're going to go over is multi-materials. I know we've touched on this a little bit in the past few days. Hopefully, I'm going to dive in a little bit closer to these, and hopefully you can get a better understanding of how these work. So I'm going to work with this speaker grill first. So if I just double click that, I'm going to go into my materials panel here, or my material settings here. And you'll notice a button up here that says multi-material. So as of now, it's just set to one material, a metal. So I'm just going to hit this button, multi-material, and this window appears here. So what we're going to do first, I'm just going to walk through these settings here, these little icons on the side here. New plastic, this is just basically saying, hey, you know, I'm going to start off with a fresh new material, which I can build on down in the settings here. All of these materials are just like before, where you can adjust textures, properties, or add labels. So that's really cool if you're just starting something off new and fresh. There's also an option to duplicate the existing material in this list, and also to duplicate and link textures. So today we are going to, let's do link textures. So anytime, so I'm going to add this, it'll copy this material. However, I'll make changes to it. But what it's going to do is it's going to keep this grill effect, opacity effect throughout. So so we'll start to build this up. Actually, I mentioned I'm going to link materials, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to duplicate these because I want to make some changes to this grill just to showcase model sets and studios later. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this material. Definitely make sure you're labeling these just for consistencies and you know, easy navigation. But I'm going to go ahead and change this first to let's say like a gold material. I just did a measured gold, and we'll keep these simple for now just to help explain what's going on. Try to keep it simple as possible. So we'll call this one gold metal, and we'll change this material to black metal. And let's go ahead and add another one as well. So I'm going to duplicate that gold, and we'll change this to, I don't know, maybe a copper. So I'll go ahead and label that as well. Great. So I'm going to make some changes to these, maybe just one of them. So now that I'm selected on my copper metal, I just want to go into my texture settings. I'm going to change the shape of these speaker holes, these grills, to, I don't know, a circle type of shape. And we'll just scale these down a little bit just to give it some variation throughout these materials. Great. Now that I just want to point out a great way to save these materials, these multi-materials, is just like any other material that you're saving. It's this little floppy disk icon up here. And you can name this anything you'd like. And also to point out, when you are creating multi-materials, you'll see this little icon, this little flag coming off of this preview. And that just indicates that it is a multi-material. One other point I'd like to make is whatever materials are in your scene are going to show up in this library down here. And another way to add multi-materials is you can just select multiple of these single materials, right-click, and combine them into a multi-material if you'd like. All right. So I want to bring up something else here. So if you wanted to drag and drop a new material on here, and then retain this texture of this speaker grill, a good way to do that is also just dragging over. If you could see in the little kind of description up here. It'll show you how to do that. So if I just let go, it'll add another material in there as well. So now we can shuffle through these really simply. And now that we've built our multi-materials, I'm pretty happy with those colors and settings. I'm going to go ahead and let's create model sets. So if I hit my scene tab here, there's a few ways to show your model sets and this option. So you'll see these 3 little buttons here next to your scene tree. You can either click and drag that to make that visible, or hit this little these little arrows on the side here to make those visible as well. So there's a few ways to create new model sets. One of these ways is hitting this little icon up here, which is add model set. And this dialog box will appear. You can type in whatever the name of this new model set is, link materials, and in this window you can select what parts or models you'd like to bring into this new model set. You can go up to, another way to do this is go to File, Import, and you can bring in an existing KeyShot file or a new model that might be, you know, a whole different product or something to that nature. So let me just show you this import settings box here. And you'll notice under the scene caret here, you can add to new model set, which will create a new one over here, or add to an existing model set, which I have labeled KeyShot Assistant. Next thing I want to chat about is like these thumbnails that help visualize what your model sets look like. So if you were to just click on a current model set and render that thumbnail, it will represent what you're looking at currently in that model set. I recommend doing this as much as you can. I kind of have OCD with this. I just tend to update them often whenever I'm making changes. So let's go ahead and create a new model set. And in this current model set, I'm just going to change this to speaker 1. So I'm just going to have one speaker in this current model set. Now, I didn't mention before, but you can right-click in the scene tree and create new model set from selection. So you could do that as well. In this case, I'm just going to click this little icon. I'm going to name this new model set speaker 2, and this model set will house 2 speakers. I'm just trying to simplify this so we can visualize these features a little bit easier. So I am going to link materials between these 2. So any changes I make through one model set, you'll see correlate to the other. So now that we're happy with this, these are selected. I'm going to send these through. And you'll see that that creates a new model set. Now, there's no real difference yet because I've just brought this one product over to this new set here. So also you can click and drag and reorder these if you'd like. Now to enable these different model sets, you can double click on them and you'll see that little checkbox there. So in speaker 2, I just want to do some, I want to move these around a little bit and duplicate this particular speaker. So I'm going to, let's go to duplicate. So we'll have 2 in there. And I'm going to move this second one over a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's also select both and move them together. And I'm going to move these back a little bit because if I were to enable this first model set, you'll see that that product is still visible, or can be enabled to be visible. Great, now we have these, and let me just toggle through these so you can see how this is kind of built. So you have speaker 1, which is one speaker. You can turn that on, so you just enable that one. Now I'm just enabling the 2 speakers here. So next, what I want to do is create some studios. And what studios do are they really tie together all of your elements, such as custom cameras, environments, image styles. And what we'll do here is we'll start off with some cameras first. But before we do that, you have to pull up your studio's window. And a few ways to do that is using the U key for a hotkey, which is just U, or you can select it up here in the top ribbon. So once you have this window up, keep in mind you can dock this any which way you'd like and do it that way. I tend to keep my studio window close to my model sets here, just so I can visually kind of tie all these together right next to each other. You know what? Make sure you update your thumbnails so you can select both at the same time, and you'll see that they have now updated. Another thing to note is this little gear icon here. You can render at different settings and different samples here. But by selecting both, you can render thumbnails that way. So that's a lot quicker rather than going through just one at a time and rendering those thumbnails. So let's go ahead and add some cameras and environments, because when I go to my cameras tab, you'll see this icon for adding a new camera, but you'll also notice that we have a setting for adding a camera and environment studio. So what that's going to do is create our new camera, also an environment that we can adjust, and that will be tied into a new studio. So in my cameras tab, I'm going to hit this little icon here. I'm going to add and edit these. So now we have Studio 1. We haven't made any adjustments down here, but we will. We're going to keep this named Studio 1 for now because I want to keep it in more of a studio lighting atmosphere. One thing that's helpful for me is to keep these naming conventions consistent, just so I know how to link them all up down here a little bit quicker, and I'll show you that in a moment. So I'm going to call this Camera Studio 1, and also go to my environment and call this one Studio 1. Great. So now that we have these created, just these this first set here, you can see. Let me just toggle through these. Once I toggle through these, you'll notice in the scene tree that there's 2 models within the speaker 2, and if I go back to speaker 1, there's just 1 model. But if I turn on both at the same time, you'll see these 2 different model sets, and this little icon right here should be familiar by this point. All right, so Studio 1. What I want to do here is go down to these settings, and you'll notice these are all the different assets that you can link up. So if I'm looking at my camera is set to Studio 1 because I want this to be in more of a studio setting. You can make changes to this camera if you'd like. Save that Studio 1 camera. And these are linked. So now we're looking at Studio 1 camera, environment Studio 1. Remember, I labeled that one the same as my other assets. And then I'm going to go ahead and change my model set. So we've created 2 model sets, speaker 1 and speaker 2. So now you can enable both if you'd like, or just one. In this case, I'm just going to enable one. And we can go into multi-materials as well. We created these just a moment ago, and you can just toggle through these and decide which color or finish you'd like here. I'm just going to select this kind of really bright gold material. And let's go ahead and create another studio. And I'm going to focus more on the speaker 2 setting here. So I'm just going to go back into camera. I'm going to save that current studio camera. Add a new camera and environment, which again will create a new studio for us. And now that we're here, let's go ahead and just update these thumbnails. So in Studio 2, we go through and label these as well. You'll see a new environment as well for us. So let's make some changes to our camera and environment for Studio 2. So Studio 2, I'd like to have more of an in-scene kind of look for this setup. So first of all, I want to change the Studio 2 to, let's say, a different model set. So let's turn off speaker 1. And we'll see these 2 speakers here. And also I would like to, in my environments tab, let's drop in a backplate. This file was included with the download, so if you have that, great. So I'm going to use this, but you can also use, of course, other environments within our library. So I'm just going to kind of match these the best I can right now in perspective. We've made that change. Let's go ahead and save Studio 2 camera. You can also change HDRI. So let's change this to something more of an interior real world lighting scenario here. I'm just going to double click this one. So now that we have a different setup here. We have a new HDRI, a backplate applied to this environment. And now I'm just going to update this thumbnail just so we can get some visual reference here. Great. So now that we have these 2 studios, I want to point out that you can just toggle through studios really quickly. And you'll see that these settings are changing every time I go through this because I've assigned different assets to these studios. And you'll notice the model sets are enabled, whatever I've set down here in these settings. So you'll see that toggle through as well. So it's a really fast way to link different assets for yourself. And also, if you have a product that's you need to visualize through a scene or through more of a studio lit environment for, let's say, e-commerce or production renders for packaging or something like that. It's a quick way to set that up. So in the past, what I've done is maybe set up, 8 to 10 standard cameras. And every time I add a new camera, a new angle to a product, generally you want to adjust the lighting. So I would, link those up to and name those accordingly. So make adjustments to that lighting. And then just linking them through your studios will help really make that quick for you. So you don't have to, click on a camera and then click on a studio as well to make those changes. This is just a quick link to make them toggle really fast. All right, let's move on. So now I hope that this has explained a little bit how these work. and how speedy it can be for you. I know there might be some good questions coming on this, and we'll go over that in a moment. But a few of the things I want to bring up here is our render queue recognizes these settings as well. So if I go into, whoops, I already have some in there. Let me just delete these. If I go into my queue, once you've added studios or model sets or multi-materials, these will become able to be clicked, and you can add these simultaneously to your queue. So if I add model sets, it'll give me both of my my broken down models in here, or I can go to studios, which is a great feature as well. So these are kind of broken out the way I'd like. So you can just add these to your queue at the same time. Let's let those shoot through. So it's taken into account all of those pre-made custom assets that you've created. And now these are visible in your queue. So very cool. Also multi-materials, you can send these through as well. So there's a lot of functions here, a lot of great quick functions to get your renders out quickly. I also want to note, and Derek brought this up in the beginning, that you can add these to Web Configurator. So once you have these kind of built out, going into your Web Configurator window here, which is at the top ribbon, you can really start to build these out and customize them any which way you'd like. And these can be used on the web or used with KeyShot Viewer, which is a completely free software. This is great for other stakeholders or any kind of, any clients perhaps that you'd like to send these files to kind of toggle through different views or cameras or materials to kind of get sign off there. And Viewer is free, so anybody can download that. And when you send your KeyShot package or file, you can lock that. So, anybody on that end with Viewer won't be able to make any kind of real changes to those files. So that's really helpful as well. It's kind of locked down. So let's see, time is looking okay. I think that's pretty much it for this. I tried to keep these simple just to get the concept through. However, there's no real limit to the amount of studios or cameras or environments you can add here. Actually, while we're in here, let me just go over image styles too, because you can link these up too. So right now I have just a main, my main style here, which is just kind of a default look. But if I wanted to add another style, I can go ahead and, give some adjust the curves of this. Obviously that's terrible. Let's do some other changes here. Add some, shadows, midtones, whatever it may be. Adjust color and add some other effects here. And you'll notice down in the image style tab, you can also, now that I've created those image styles, you'll see these in this menu as well. So you can add those. Just a really powerful tool. So I think that's pretty much it for this, for the demo. Looking forward to questions, and I think one of our developers, Dries, will be joining in on those and answering those questions. So anything you can throw my way, please do.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. That was great. Yeah, Dries has been able to answer a number of questions for folks. There's definitely some things I kind of want to dig in on here, for some of the things people have asked. One thing was people were asking about exploded views and using model sets for that. And obviously that's a perfect use case. I don't know if you can kind of quickly show us
Sure.
how you would do a very quick exploded view here with model sets.
Sure, let's do that. So that brings up a great point, because before I mentioned, like organizing your scene tree is very helpful. So let's say I wanted to take this top part here, and let's go ahead and move this up. And just for simplicity reasons, we'll go ahead and let me save my file. That's very important too. You should always do that. Let's say we just create that slight breakup of these parts. And now that that is set, let me save my camera on that one. You can go ahead and render to this thumbnail as well. So when I toggle through, any of these changes that you save to that model will be applied to those studios and model sets. So speaker one, just remember to update your thumbnails as well. So you'll see that these are applied really easily.
Wonderful, thank you. And can you bring up the a main configure file and actually show how the viewer looks? You can just kind of click on the presentation mode at the bottom if you have it set up there.
Let's see here.
Or in a different file. Yeah.
Yep. So unfortunately, I haven't built this out too much, but this is basically the idea here. So if I wanted to, let's say, oops, sorry. I would need to create this, use the configurator to build this out a little bit more. But if I did, I would have settings over here to kind of toggle through my model sets and studios and lighting.
Yeah. I believe there actually is, you can grab the door configurator that's in the main window of KeyShot 9 to show that.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, let's see.
Lower right-hand corner there you go.
Let's do that. So
this is kind of a great simple example because people are kind of asking basically, once you have those multi-materials set up, how does that look inside of the KeyShot viewer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So now that we have, actually this demo file is really great. So it's all set up, ready to go. And then you just hit presentation mode and you can swap out your different model sets that you've created here. And really work through a lot of these pre-made settings that you've worked on before. So it's really simple interface, great to walk through, a lot of fun. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's included. So if you get KeyShot now, you can pull that down the main welcome window and click presentation mode, or export that into the viewer and see how that works. But as we mentioned, it's a great way to sort of share. Once you sort of set up the parameters of these files, it's a great way to share it, upstream to an approval process without those people having KeyShot installed. They can just grab the viewer, and also that same data can be exported out to the web viewer. So that's a straight HTML export. So that way, for people who don't necessarily have the viewer, or if you want to put that configuration online, they can just use HTML to access via Chrome or Safari.
Exactly.
We can go through here. People are asking how long the videos will be on there. Yeah, they'll be on YouTube forever. If you go to our YouTube channel, we have all the videos from here, from KeyShot World 2020 on there, as well as all of our content. So I definitely recommend for folks who want to learn more about KeyShot, they'll be subscribed to that channel and get more information on there. One person's asking, having different lighting settings between model sets, and the answer is no. That can be included in studios. Is it? So I'm reading through these real quickly. Okay, go through some of the open questions here. Is there a way to apply material on a part on all studios? So I'm not 100% sure if they're imagining it. Basically, you can apply material basically to across all the studios you've created.
Right. I think an answer for that one is with multi-materials. Let's say you had, you don't even necessarily need multi-materials, just making sure that these, I'm sorry, let me actually go into here. So just making sure if you are creating new model sets to link those materials. So that would create the same finish for this example throughout all of those model sets. So just making sure that your materials are linked.
It'd be great if you could show the render settings as again for folks to show how you can output all those different variations. Some folks are asking about how to basically output all of that in a render.
Sure. So what we went over before is once you create these assets, these studios, model sets, multi-materials, these become enabled, these buttons right here. So a quick way to just add in specific model sets, you can just go ahead and select which ones you'd like to showcase or send a render. Same goes for studios. You'll see the 3 different studios I've created or we've created here, and then the multi-materials, any of the these built-up materials as well.
So do you mind going back to the welcome window real quick? Some folks are asking. So for folks that don't know, when you go into the welcome window for KeyShot, excuse me, there's the learning section there is updated. So as we get new information or as we post new information, that gets pushed there. You can click on the What's New tab as well, Ryan, next to learning. And so that gets information pushed there as well. So we're actually constantly pushing it out, so you don't have to do anything from an update standpoint. And then the demo scenes that we have in there, a lot of people kind of keep on that recent tab, but if you go to that demo scene on there, you can see, the examples of studios and real cloth and fuzz, and that door configurator is right on there. So for people who are kind of asking, you can basically just take that, double click on that, and then click on the presentation mode at the bottom, and then you can see very easily kind of how the whole process works with regard to exporting it out. And so the KeyShot Viewer essentially is what that presentation mode is, only that's all it is. So you don't have all the additional parts of KeyShot. You just have that one piece. So the presentation mode sort of mimics what your sort of end deliverable will look like on the KeyShot Viewer. So hopefully that kind of helps explain that a little clearer for folks. Some folks are saying when they import an OBJ model from Gravity Sketch, materials won't apply, such as real cloth. How to resolve this? You need to UV map that. So if you actually watch yesterday's session on real cloth, Kareem talks about how to use the UV unwrapping tool. I want to show that briefly in the tools section, Ryan.
Sure. Yeah.
So right in the tools section, you'll see this is new for KeyShot 9.1, the unwrap UV section, and so you'll need to utilize that on your model. You may probably need to retessellate that model first and then UV unwrap it in order to get it to work properly with real cloth.
And anybody out there that I have a great demo scene for UV unwrap, and I'm happy to help walk through our interface for that and give some insight to that as well. So just reach out through email or anything that I mentioned before, any way that I mentioned before.
Okay, great. Well, it seems like we've answered most of the questions here from folks. Was there anything else you wanted to jump in and add here?
No, that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep this simple. I know it can be, a lot of moving parts at first, but it definitely practice it and see, just the general idea behind it is just fascinating, because if you are working with different variations of product or finishes or colors, this is the way to go. So it's definitely changed the way I work through the years, once this was available. So it's a very, very powerful tool.
Great, thank you, Ryan. And a reminder on the manual, if people want additional information or want to dig in, the manual is a great resource to go to, which is updated with each release on how to access this. And we also link the videos on there as well.
Right. So I put that up here as well. So so learning resources, what Derek just said. So definitely check those out. I think the manual is just super helpful, kind of breaking these down quite a bit and helping you understand the theory behind it and all the steps. Also, just wanted to mention some things or tips to remember here. Multiple model sets can be visible at any given time, and you can rearrange those any way you'd like as well. Linking materials throughout model sets can keep consistencies. just so as long as you're, toggling through, you don't have to go through and make changes each time to each product. So that's helpful as well. Update your thumbnails often. I know I stress that a lot, but like I said before, I have some OCD issues with that, but I tend to just do that quite a bit just to help me visualize what I'm working on. Studios, model sets, and multi-materials are pro features only. So I mentioned before, again, reach out to your sales rep or go to our website to purchase or upgrade to pro if you can. And the old days of having to create multiple KeyShot files for the same project are over. That changed my life. I definitely love these features, and I use them any which way I can.
Great. There's one last question. Someone asked about KeyVR and studios. Yes, you can actually set it up so the multi-materials and the environments can come along in KeyVR. That's one of the great features of kind of how KeyShot works very seamlessly with KeyVR. So if you're using KeyVR, definitely try that and check that out. Someone's asking, has the API been updated to enable scripting of studio and multi-materials? Not at this time, no. The API does not allow you to actually kind of create them through a script on the fly. Okay, I think that's the remainder of their questions. I'll grab the screen from you now, Ryan.
All right.
And so for our giveaway.
Cool. Well, thank you, everybody.
So as I mentioned, our giveaway today, since we have, this is our final session of the day, is a Hero 8 Black camera from the wonderful folks at GoPro. And the winner is Beth Larson. Beth Larson from Sikasui, looks like. Congratulations to you, Beth. We will follow up with you directly over email for your prize. Thank you again, everyone, for attending today. Reminder, we have 2 more sessions tomorrow on lighting. The first one at 10 a.m. will be focused on lighting essentials, so really kind of end-to-end on how lighting works in KeyShot with presets. The second session at noon with Will Gibbons will be advanced. That'll be more on customizing your lighting and doing things like animation with lighting. So we hopefully everyone will join us again tomorrow for that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and have a wonderful day.